This is Radio Taiwan International.
Welcome to the news on Radio Taiwan International. I'm Hannah Belinsky coming to you from Taipei, Taiwan. We begin with a look at today's top stories for Wednesday, May 20th. President Lai marks 2 years in office, vows to safeguard democracy. President unveils new population strategy with monthly child subsidies. And rising gas costs put pressure on Thai power and may drive up electricity rates. But first, today's top story. President Lai Ching-te marked the second anniversary of his inauguration on Wednesday with a press conference. His address traced Taiwan's democratic journey back to its first direct presidential election in 1996, urging citizens to unite in safeguarding democracy for the next generation. Lai outlined 3 core policy priorities: protecting Taiwan's democratic and free way of life, maintaining cross-strait peace and stability, and developing a more resilient and competitive economy. He acknowledged 2 turbulent years marked by authoritarian expansions globally, supply chain restructuring, and unprecedented legislative deadlock that stalled key personal appointments, budgets, and bills, yet insisted Taiwan has not retreated. On cross-strait relations, Lai firmly rejected Beijing's overtures, stating Taiwan is willing to engage China on equal and dignified terms but will not accept being diminished.
Over 30 years of direct presidential elections, Taiwan's people have time and again proven through their votes that we cherish peace but will not abandon freedom. We are willing to dialogue but will not accept being belittled. We pursue stability but will not sacrifice sovereignty or our democratic way of life. This is Taiwan's bottom line and its clearest position to the world.
In a separate interview, the president also dismissed calls from the KMT to continue cross-strait exchanges under the framework of the 1992 consensus, saying Beijing's interpretation of it amounts to a one China principle formula for Taiwan.
The so-called 1992 consensus within China's national policy is the one China principle, with Taiwan's arrangement being one country, 2 systems. This not only abandons national sovereignty, but also sacrifices Taiwan's democratic and free way of life, and will not be accepted by the Taiwanese people.
On the 2-year anniversary of his inauguration, President Lai Ching-te delivered an address outlining measures to address the declining birth rate. He announced a new population strategy in which a monthly growth allowance of 5,000 NT dollars will be allotted to each person aged 0 to 18. In addition to direct allowances, part of the program will be designed as a future savings account for children, which they can access at age 18 for education or entrepreneurship. He added that the strategy also includes workplace-friendly policies, family support measures, and housing assistance. The program is expected to cost around 200 billion NT dollars annually.
This monthly subsidy is meant to provide assistance in areas such as marriage, pregnancy, raising children, and family life, encouraging better work-life balance in the hopes that young people will marry, have children, and pursue happiness.
The president said that in addition to providing the growth allowance, the government will also continue investing in public health, medical infrastructure, better nurse-to-patient ratios, and smart healthcare technologies. On climate and energy transition, he said the administration is evaluating options to ensure energy security, industrial competitiveness, and decarbonization are all achievable. Lai also addressed young people directly, expressing his hope that today's youth will use creativity, professionalism, and action to shape Taiwan's next generation. He pledged continued investment in education, technology, culture, sports, and international exchanges. CPC Corporation's gas prices for power producers have increased for the second consecutive month amid continuing tensions in the Middle East. Taiwan Power Company estimates that starting in May, monthly costs will rise by 13 billion NT dollars. Economic Minister Gong Ming-sin said this Wednesday at the legislature that both CPC and Thai Power will need financial support from the government in the near future. Although CPC has frozen residential gas prices, it has raised gas prices for industrial electricity users such as Thai Power in both April and May. The minister acknowledged that Thai Power is in a tough spot and that he has instructed the company to maximize revenue and reduce expenditures to weather the difficulties. Gong said that electricity rates are determined by the Electricity Price Review Committee, with stable power supply and preventing Taipower from collapsing taking priority, followed by protecting livelihoods and stabilizing prices. The committee is scheduled to meet in September to determine new electricity rates for October. Taipower Chair Cheng Wen-sheng said that although rising natural gas costs currently make electricity prices insufficient to cover expenses, circumstances are exceptional, and CPC may adjust prices later depending on how the situation develops. He added that if gas prices are not adjusted and energy prices do not decline, Taipower's losses this year could exceed the 28 billion NT dollars projected in the budget. Taiwan's Coast Guard administration, in cooperation with the United States, has cracked multiple cross-border drug trafficking cases, seizing heroin worth over $2.6 million.
Taiwan's Coast Guard administration has partnered with the U.S. Homeland Security investigations to crack down on cross-border drug trafficking, dismantling 14 cases since October of last year with a combined street value exceeding $2.6 million. In one operation, investigators forced open a suitcase and discovered over 4 kilograms of heroin concealed inside. An American woman attempted to play innocent until X-ray imaging made her involvement undeniable. In another case, 2 Polish men swallowed large quantities of heroin in Ho Chi Minh City before boarding a flight to Taiwan. One ingested 1,239 grams, while the other swallowed 940 grams, both dangerously close to the human body's limit. Inspectors rushed both men to the hospital for emergency extraction. Acting Prosecutor General Xu Xixiang acknowledged the difficulty of such investigations. Body packing is low cost and highly covered, making it extremely difficult to detect. Without actionable intelligence from home security investigations, it would be nearly impossible to justify a destructive search, he said. Homeland Security Investigations Taiwan representative Brian Sciarrotta noted that many couriers originated from Europe, with 22 suspects arrested and approximately 23 kilograms of heroin seized. The Coast Guard administration pledged to deepen U.S. cooperation to keep drugs out of Taiwan. Phil Laskowski for RTI News.
Taiwan Travelogue made history this week as both the first Taiwanese literary work and the first Mandarin language translated work to win the International Booker Prize. The accomplishment was praised by both President Lai Ching-te and Taiwan's Culture Minister Li Yuan, who called the win the greatest gift for the Culture Ministry. The International Booker Prize is a major award in the UK for works translated into English, with a shared prize of £50,000 for writer and translator. The novel was written by Taiwanese author Yang Shuangzi and translated by Taiwanese-American Lin King. The book follows Japanese travel writer Chizuko and her Taiwanese translator Chizuru traveling along Taiwan's railway system on a culinary journey during the period of Japanese occupation. Along the journey, Chizuko is confronted with the increasingly layered and insidious ways colonization affects the country around her and how she and her relationship with Chizuru play into that same system. President Lai said Taiwan Travelogue showcases Taiwan's heritage and culture in a way that transcends the barriers of time and language. He thanked Yang and King for bringing Taiwan's story to the highest halls of the literary world, creating a new milestone for success in both the British and American literary scenes. Receiving blessings, worshippers are bringing deity figurines out into the water for one annual religious ceremony in Taiwan.
A long line of palanquin bearers carrying hundreds of deity figurines rushed into a Jiayi pier amidst the sounds of firecrackers and drums as part of the king welcoming water dash ceremony. Only after sensing the deity's presence did they disembark and return. The 3-day event is chock full of processions and folk performances. Some worshippers kneel on the road, crawling under the palanquin to receive additional blessings. The annual ceremony boasts more than 200 years of history. Some participants say they come every year to welcome the deity and receive blessings of good health and great wealth. Another says they come from Kaohsiung and that this is the 6th year they have attended to receive blessings and pray for peace. The religious ceremony is a special one for worshippers and is deemed an important part of local culture. Tristan for RTI News.
Thanks for joining me for the news. I'm Hannah Belinsky. Stay tuned for another 50 minutes of English language features brought to you by Radio Taiwan International.